Hello, everybody. This is Zach Said It Again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and I'm honored to be here with my friend, universally gifted musician, Albert Newberry. Albert, thank you so much for being on the phone with me today.
Thanks for having me, Zach. Always a pleasure.
Well, thank you for inviting me to that incredible show. I have seen you perform in other capacities. You're a very generous musician. You share the spotlight with other musicians, but you gave me the gift that I wanted, which was to see just you play.
I really appreciate it. It was a fun show. Mm-hmm. I always like playing there.
My daughter attended St. John's as a preschooler, and they have a wonderful preschool program there.
Wow.
So every time I'm there, my daughter's 12 now, and every time that I see that little playground in the back of the church, I get teary eyed, and my baby, you know, and in the sanctuary where you played is where they had their annual Christmas programs, and so you get all the feelings when you go in that room.
Right.
And but to hear you play and to have you do just original material was something very special. And again, thank you for that personal invitation. I'm so glad you are doing albums, and you had enough material to create 2 albums, which I think is fantastic. And you said if one of the pieces is too long, you might cut some of it. So I'm hoping you're going to arrive at the decision not to do that, because everything just flowed so well together.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I mean, we actually originally we were thinking of cutting because we had too much, but now with the 2 album plan, I think we won't have to. Mm-hmm. We won't have to. Mm-hmm. Maybe one piece, but I know. Actually, you didn't hear everything because actually we had some actually extra time, and we recorded, a few extra pieces I had in the bank that are not. Yeah. I didn't feel they're top notch, but we did them just in case. Mm-hmm. We did a pre-improvisation or 2, and I even did, I think, a little Radiohead song I covered. And then after that, there's still time. And my producer, who we'll talk about, he said, we're going to do something. Let's sample this piano. Now, I don't know if you know what I mean by that. But basically, sampling the pianos, this is how keyboards get their sound, is that they, record each note meticulously from the piano, and then that becomes the piano sound. And what we did is I played every single note on that piano very slowly, with different attacks, and just to get a whole library of this piano with that sound, which I can talk about when we worked on very hard. So we have that as a sort of just for Bart to later use and make his own piece. So he's a composer in his own right. So we just had so much fun, and we completed what we wanted to do, and we did these other things at the end.
So it could either be pieces that he ends up composing himself or bonus material for the CDs or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So when will we see these albums?
Well, We're working on it right now. In fact, today he sent me edits and I listened. And then it's got to be mixed and mastered. So the first thing you will see is singles. You will see we're going to release probably 3 singles from the first album. And we'll do one at a time. And that's sort of standard procedure to try to get people excited.
Sure.
And so that we're going to do first. The first single is going to be called Piece for Piece, which you heard. And we're going to make music videos. So, and we have some really good ideas for that. Hopefully, this is going to be the first single I think can come out within the next month or two. And then from there, another single. And I think early 2027 is when you'll get the full first album. See, we have to stretch it, Zach, because that's how you get the most, let's say, bang for your buck.
Absolutely.
So we could just drop it, and you would really enjoy it, but we need to get some audience interested in it first. So we're going to try that. Milk it for what it's worth.
And is this your first official solo album?
Yes, technically. I have an album that came out when I was 13. And that album is not solo, but it is my album. Features really great musicians. But again, I was 13, so if you ever listen to it, take it with a grain of salt. Then we also have, I have this album, again, not solo, but with a violinist, recording the violin and piano works of the composer Sergei Bortkevich, who was a Russian-Ukrainian composer. And then we have American Pirates, which you know all about, which I was a member of, but again, not my solo. So this is the first solo album, I guess the 4th full album that I've been on.
But this one is the first official one that is Albert's baby.
Yes.
And are you going to name it anything specific, or do you know yet?
Well, the first album is, and we really haven't told anybody this yet, but the first album is going to be called Chasing Orion, which I don't know if you remember, but that was a piece.
Absolutely.
That is one of the tracks, yes. Yeah.
So you have a title track for the album.
Yes. The second album will probably be called Disparate Elements.
Which is a group of pieces that you presented at the show as well.
Exactly.
So and you were talking about, obviously we are well beyond that. When I was coming up, in the late 80s, early 90s, it was all, and listening to pop music of the day. It was about releasing an album and choosing which singles to release, which is some of what you talked about. Obviously, in the classical instrumental world, it would be a little different. And certainly we don't rely on things like Billboard anymore in the age of electronic and instant gratification. So how, in this newfangled way of releasing albums and singles, do you choose, and particularly in your genre, do you choose what singles to use? And then once you release them, what does that look like? Are you relying on places like Spotify to depend on, for lack of a better word, chart success, or how does that look?
Well, that's a very good question. Yes, today is very complicated when releasing anything. But, you want to use your social media as much as possible, which I don't really like being on there, but that's what you got to do. You're hoping, really with an album, you're not hoping to make, especially with my genre, you can't hope to make any money. We know that that's not our goal, but the goal is we want the people that would be interested in this to hear it. And you're also not hoping to be number one on the charts, because instrumental music will never be number one. Hasn't been number one in a long time, and it just won't be. I know that that's the reality. But what I do try, and what we're going to work hard to do, is to get this to the people who do appreciate it. Because those people do exist.
You're talking to one of them.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, rare people like you, Zach, that really, really care. And, but we have to do everything we can, and that includes marketing, PR. You can't just rely. You can't just put it on Spotify and hope people are going to hear it. They just won't. I know that they won't. So what you have to try to do, there's many strategies, but you try to get your music featured on playlists that can help, which are on Spotify. So then that people are listening to these playlists, and Spotify feeds them your song, and so they're hearing it for the first time. They're like, "Wow, that's actually pretty good. Who is this person?" And then they click and they start listening. So I've discovered people that way, artists that I like. But the other thing is live shows. I think that now more than ever, live is very important, especially in the age of AI. Because if you can't do it live, you can't do it. If you can't play, you can't do it. There's ways to play to a backing track or lip sync. That's true, but it's not. I don't know if you can call yourself a musician at that point. That's how I feel anyway. The big stadium shows, a lot of times they are using, these recordings, and they're kind of like playing along. But the live experience, when you're really listening to something happen once, and however it's played that time, will never be played exactly that way again. It's just, you can't replicate that. That's one of the most beautiful things in the world. So,
and particularly if someone has paid to see a live gig, if you're not playing live for them, how cheated is the listener, or in that
very
case,
cheated,
the viewer. And and we'll get into some of the individual pieces here in a minute, but I want to ask you a question about your playing, because you are a very humble guy.
I try to
the level of, and I can say this because my first meeting with you, we immediately clicked. And I think for me, you became a very dear friend right away, and that is because that the level of your playing and the level of your talent is matched only. The only thing that matches that is the size of your heart. You're as great a human being as you are a musician. And that is a rare find in anyone these days.
Well, thank you, Zach. That's very, very kind.
But I'm saying it in the most genuine sense, because that is something that you almost never see. So, with you being as humble as you are, I'm sitting there watching you play, watching your hands on being almost on top of themselves, trying to get these notes, most of which you did not even use sheet music. It was just coming straight out of your head. And you know, your hands are on top of each other, and you contort your arms and these what just to make these impossible sounds come out of this one instrument. And you're looking back at Becky Absher, who's the organist at the local Presbyterian church.
Yes.
So Becky, I'm trying to get these pieces so they can be played by the musicians, and I think we made them doable, right? And Becky's like, well, nobody in this room could play it except you. So are you aware, and this is a very difficult question for you because you are so humble, are you aware that most people do not have talent at your level? Are you aware that what you have been given is extremely exceptional?
Well, I really appreciate that. The thing is, in our world, in the classical and jazz, or if you're around a lot of musicians and good ones, then, you're constantly in doubt of whether you are good. And I mean, really, to the point where I think most musicians feel this. Again, especially classical and especially jazz, it's very competitive. People are very talented around you. And so you're actually constantly in doubt. Can I do this? Should I be doing this? And it doesn't stop. It's not like you only do that when you're 18. I think that you continue to doubt because you're constantly, especially online, it's like you're bombarded with all these people that are better than you. And so it's very nice to hear that, what you said, but I, on the daily basis, feel that, or not feel, but I at least question, am I good enough? And what am I good at? Because, everyone has a different path, and we're not all meant to do the same thing. I know that some things I can't do as well as others, and I've abandoned those things. But I never feel that I'm so good, because I know a lot of people who are so good, and they keep me on my toes. So it's this constant battle. I think if you felt like you knew it all and you were at the top, I don't know if it would be such a good feeling.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that that's how you should feel at all. I just want you to recognize that there are people that would give anything to have the talent that you have, or a fraction of the talent that you have. Do you recognize that what you have been gifted with is not gifted to everybody?
Yes, I do. I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful to God, first of all. But the next thing is I'm grateful to my family, because they nurtured my gift, and they believed in it, and then they, paid for the lessons and drove me to the lessons.
Right.
So all of that, comes together. And so I'm very grateful for what I have, and then all I've been given by the teachers, and like I said, my family, because that's also true. I wouldn't be here if it were not for them. So I've been very lucky, and I do. Some people have believed in me, and so that has helped me understand I should be doing this, even if some days you play, as they say. I heard this expression the other day. Joe Bonamassa said it. Sometimes you play what he was calling it the golden egg. So a big fat golden egg, meaning zero. There's no audience, no money, as he called it, the golden egg. So sometimes you play a show like, but I still have moments in the music itself and in the people that I interact with that remind me that this is what I should be doing. And my grandma, who rest in peace, she passed away this year, she always said that, what you're doing is, you're giving people a great gift, and so you can't throw that away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or not nurture it.
Yes. And there are ways to get burnt out. A lot of musicians and artists struggle with that, but I'm not anywhere near that.
If you are playing for 20 people in Wytheville on your time off, that very much shows that you are not anywhere near burnout. And
I mean, it's a pleasure always to play anywhere in Wytheville, Bland. It's Roanoke. I was in Roanoke last night. Trio. So it's really a treat.
And you may not have had, a room full of people, but the people that were there reacted to your music as though you were playing to a full house at, say, Madison Square Garden. I mean, and it isn't always about the number of butts in the seats. It's about the enthusiasm and the energy that you receive from the audience, and you definitely were in a room full of your people because you personally invited the people that you knew would appreciate what you were putting out. Like me, if you hadn't invited me, I would have never known and I wouldn't have been there. So I had the opportunity, and I was thrilled to have a personal invitation. But let's talk some about your individual pieces. The two pieces that you started the show with, Pastoral and Toccata, were previously filmed at St. John's and won an Emmy Award for PBS Appalachia. Now, how did that come to be that you got to be a part of an Emmy-winning film?
Right. Well, I was here during COVID time. I came back from New York.
Mm-hmm.
I was there doing my undergrad. I came here, and then I needed some work, and I also make films, and I was working. I had this cinematographer. We did some short films. You can find those. It's under Appalachian Film Company. Something I'd love to bring back one day. But we've made those films, and he sort of got me acquainted with these people who were working at PBS, still there. And I started helping there with the music videos because we opened a new station, PBS Appalachia. Not enough people know about this here, but besides Blue Ridge PBS, there's also PBS Appalachia, which is the first of its kind. It was the first. It's basically IP address based TV station, meaning that you can watch it online anytime. And they wanted to make local content. They wanted to film culture and towns and music in particular in the area. And they started doing these music videos. And I helped them. First of all, I knew all the musicians in the area. And I would set up these music videos, and I did the sound, and they filmed it, and that was called Project Southwest. On my website, you can see every music video that we did. And then, of course, they did me at some point. And we did it there at the church in Wytheville. And it was filmed by Jacob Dellinger, and for the video itself, for the cinematography of the video, and the lighting and everything, we won an Emmy. So
you won the Emmy as well.
Well, I mean, technically, I don't have the Emmy. So Jacob Dellinger has the Emmy, and that is technically how it should be. But of course, I put it on my resume, and I take great pride in that. I worked on that video, and that was my video, and my music.
Right. But technically, Jacob Dellinger is the Emmy winner. So.
Yes. I mean, and I always, I would be a fool not to use this everywhere, but for my own resume. But yes, technically, and he's a multi Emmy winning director and cinematographer.